Okay, so I've had a few people ask me to define holistic economic metrics. Um, Personally, I thought it was a pretty straightforward acronym term that would be easily understood by most people. Apparently, that isn't the case, so I'm making a video in response to my Davos videos to basically explain the terminology so that people can actually understand what I'm talking about, or at least the people who apparently don't have access to a good dictionary. The first part is just the basic definition of the key words used in the phrase, and after that I have a little more comprehensive of a definition that is sort of my own personal interpretation of the phrase. So here it goes. Holistic. Incorporating the concept of holism in theory or practice. Holism is the theory that the parts of any whole cannot exist and cannot be understood except in their relation to the whole. Economic can be defined as of or relating to an economy. Economy being the system of production and distribution and consumption. Metrics, a system of parameters or ways of quantitative and periodic assessment of a process that is to be measured, along with the procedures to carry out such measurement and the procedures for the interpretation of the assessment in the light of previous or comparable assessments. Put together, these words embody the timely concept of using information technology to measure, monitor, and modify global economic activity at the highest possible resolution. There are many reasons for implementing such a system, the primary one being that blind activity of any kind is inherently dysfunctional because it introduces uncertainty into an otherwise comprehensible equation. Natural systems are inherently functional, while artificial systems must be tested over time with the constant possibility of failure. Without a comprehensive understanding of the relationships between pre-existing natural systems, like the ecosystem, and artificial man-made systems, like the global economy, the future of human civilization will be left entirely up to chance. Pretty self-explanatory, right? From my point of view, holism is synonymous with reality. I'd like to explain this further. For a very long time, practically forever, humans have relied on what I think of as the Iceberg Method for complex system analysis. I'm sure you're all familiar with the analogy. 90% of the iceberg is underwater and therefore conveniently out of sight. Traditional analysts paddle by in their sensor-laden rowboats, ignoring everything except for the 10% of iceberg that sticks up above the surface. In more open-minded circle, there is a term for this tactic. It's called cherry picking. But that's only accurate when you are capable of realizing that an iceberg is a huge body of networked information and not just a solitary blip on the radar. All of this appears to work very well as long as you have a really big ocean with plenty of room between icebergs. Sure, a container ship or cruise ship mysteriously goes down now and again, but overall the symbolic interpretation of reality serves its purpose and ignorance is bliss. Of course, if you keep adding ships at a consistent rate, that's when real problems start to emerge. The superficial analysis begins to clash with actual reality, even before there is any concrete data to confirm the cause and effect relationship. It becomes clear that more variables are involved than were initially measured or even imagined. But holism doesn't just correct a false analytical method, it throws it completely out the window. The 10% of the iceberg that defined our world suddenly becomes all but irrelevant. The 90% below the waterline that we never knew of or even cared about is now the most important thing imaginable. But this is still an incomplete analysis, because even 100% of the iceberg is still just a percentage of the larger holistic system. Up to this point, the metaphor has been mostly naturalistic. However, the focus of HEM is not natural systems, but rather artificial ones, i.e. the economy. This is a vital distinction, because natural systems are infinitely complex and therefore virtually unmeasurable, while man-made systems are not infinitely complex and are undeniably measurable. For those who are skeptical about this claim and cite complexity theory, let me remind everyone, we create these systems. They are not accidental. They are not spontaneous manifestations extending beyond our control. Furthermore, we maintain them, and frankly, without our continued confidence and support, they would collapse. We can measure them, and we must. This is not just an opportunity, it is a necessity. We are obligated to measure our own activity, if only to prevent our actions from inadvertently destroying the instances of naturally occurring order and functionality that already exist. Currently, measurement of key indicators define reality, but without a realistic context, our symbolic representations are meaningless. The GDP, the stock market, quarterly reports, these are all comparatively irrelevant to the far more significant and substantial mass of information below the surface. Information that can only be revealed through a comprehensive, holistic analysis, which includes all relevant relationships between our economic activity and everything else. From an information standpoint, our global economy is just the symbolic tip of the iceberg, with the tangible bulk of our activity remaining invisible and unmeasured. This is the true cause of the current global financial crisis and the impending ecological crisis that will be far more severe than any economic depression imaginable. Fortunately, the solution to both of these problems is also one that provides us with the ability to prevent future crises. Holistic economic metrics, the science of gathering information that allows us to perceive the reality of our economic enterprise, permanently replacing the illusions that are destroying our world and our lives. So, hopefully this definition will shed some more light on the terminology. If there are any additional questions or comments, just go ahead and leave them with this video. This is pretty much, I think, my last word on the topic, but I will answer any comments that are left with this video. Thanks for watching. Peace.